This latest book is the fifth book that I've published for charity. And the previous books were stories, a collection of stories about inspirational stories about hope. And so this one really focuses on retirees and the wannabes.
I'm the wannabe. I've turned 60 this year, so it is certainly something I'm thinking about. I'm not ready, but I know that I need to get ready because it's coming. Hopefully, within the next 5 years, and I'm excited about that. And I also am nervous about that. I'm wondering what life will look like without a full-time job. So the book was perfect timing for me to sort of think personally and look internally and figure out what retirement will mean for me, what that future looks like.
I wanted to develop particular themes. I selected Gene Kearney, for example, because I wanted a story about someone who hasn't retired yet, but maybe in the next 5 years or so they would be seriously thinking about it. And with someone like Gene Kearney, who's the program coordinator at Village by the Station in Penticton, I also knew enough about her because she's the kind of person that's very joyful, and she finds joy in her work and she finds joy in her life.
A great deal of my work centers around creating joy for people whose health has declined, people that live in assisted living or long-term care, and people who have Alzheimer's or some kind of a dementia. For many of them, having a good day is no longer possible. So part of my joy is offering them moments of joy.
Another example was I selected Ivan McClellan because he's a very well-known hockey legend in Penticton. But I wanted to develop the side perhaps that people know about but maybe is not as well publicized, and that is about optimism. And so he has a story in there about optimism.
So he said, would you do a piece on your most memorable moment in your life? Now, ask anyone that question, and they're going to have to think for a while. And in my case, he would have expected it to be hockey related. But when I look at my life, that's not what I came up with at all. I came up with a different story, and I think people are going to enjoy it. They're going to enjoy it. I have a history here, a considerable history here. My wife was here. My wife traveled what I call the Alzheimer's dementia journey, and she was here at the Village by the Station and was treated very, very well and had got the very finest of care. She was here for 3.5 years, and I was in this building almost every day with her through her journey. And I became to learn how important this place was to people like that. And I pretty much devoted myself to raising money and doing things that are positive and helpful here.
We see from today's event, people just show up, right? And they say things like, we purchased the other books and we wanted to support the cause, etc. And that kind of keeps me going, because obviously we don't receive any money, right? This is all volunteer by everybody, and so I didn't think when I started this 7 years ago that I'd be on the fifth book, but that's what's happening. So a lot of people can feel good about that, contributors and others.
The subject of retirement, when a person reaches that stage, be it 60, 65, or whenever they decide, I think there's always a bit of apprehension. And that word probably as much as any faces people. And so I think it'd be helpful for them to sit down and read some of the experiences that people have had either thinking about retirement or actually doing it. And that's what you're going to pick up in this book. It's very worthwhile for somebody that's either wants to do it or has already done it. In my case, I've been retired for 30 years, and it's been wonderful, just absolutely wonderful. I don't know why I would want to ever think about working again.
And there are many other stories, but there are particular themes I wanted to develop that help to promote particular values, not only just for life in general, but in particular for retirees. Retirement in this new era, when people can live 30 years or more, is quite different than, say, in the olden days, in my grandfather's days perhaps, where retirement was probably viewed more like a vacation. Unfortunately, the vacation was often short-lived. But these days, you can't go 10,000 days, which is about 30 years. You can't go that long with a sedentary lifestyle, for example, right? You need to have some sense of purpose. People probably spend more time planning for a 2-week vacation than they do for retirement. And so that's probably what drove me to write this book.
I think with regards to retirement, there's as many things out there to do as you want to do. It's just a matter of saying, I'm going to go do that.
Several places in the Penticton area right now. Certainly Cole's Books in the mall, Dragon's Den, Garden Works, Village by the Station. They'll all have books. They're not taking any percentage from any of the books, so that really helps the cause. Well, every year, and for every book, I usually select different charities. This particular charity resonates because at least 2 of the contributors to this book have direct connection to Village by the Station. As well, my own experience with my mother-in-law, who lived with dementia for a number of years, also is something that is an issue that resonates with me.
If somebody picks this little book up and is interested in retirement or has retired and maybe at loose ends, have a read. There's some very inspirational stories in there.
Big attraction for me was the fact that the proceeds for the book do come here, and what we're targeting that for is music therapy. For people with dementia, music is the best gift that we can give them.
What we're doing here is just good stuff. It's helping people that have a little better life, and most people don't give too much thought naturally to someone living in a facility like this, as good as it is, spending as much time as they do alone, and we're trying to raise some funds to help them have a better time.